We recently had a trailer for The Flash Season 4 come out. Season 3 ended with Barry getting trapped in the... Well, not necessarily getting trapped in the Speed Force, but he had to go in there. A lot of exciting stuff happened, and we have a sneak peek at what to expect in Season 4 of The Flash. So here in this beginning episode, we're going to be talking about what we expect from Season 4 of The Flash. And starting off with you, Averith, what are your hopes going off of Season 3, the new trailer that we've just watched, and going into Season 4 of The Flash? What kind of nonsense do you think we're going to be getting into? Because you are actually not just a fan of the TV shows, but you have a lot of knowledge with the actual comics themselves. So you may know some stuff that the typical viewer may not. So what are your expectations for Season 4?
Because of Season 3, spoilers ahead, my expectations when they mentioned the word Flashpoint, I expected something else happening, which didn't happen. But right now I'm looking at what they're going with this series. When you see all the lightning come down, and Season 4 looks like it might be interesting. We might see other speedsters, or we might get a little more of a peek into the Speed Force, which I'm kind of hoping for. As a comic fan, I'm not sure what storyline they're going with. There's a lot of interesting storylines that went with Wally West as The Flash. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that in the little teaser that we had for the first episode of Season 4, it shows Barry, and I think a lot of people were hoping that it would be Wally West being the Flash and really seeing what he's capable of, how he handles things, how the team works without Barry. But it seems like it's just going like the 6 months or however many months it passed between him going into the Speed Force and getting out. Maybe they're just going to glance over that or skip over that, or kind of like how they did with the Flashpoint. A lot of people expected that to take up like half of the entire series or season of Season 3, and they just kind of glanced over it in a few episodes. So maybe that's what they'll do with Barry being trapped in it. Something that I thought was interesting is that we see what people are calling the Speed Force, like his eyes are kind of glowing when it shows his face in the trailer. You don't hear him talk or speak or anything, but they do say that Barry's back. What do you think that could be? Do you think that's like, for me, it kind of reminded me of the evil Barry from the future was trying to take over towards the end of Season 3, because he had a similar look on his face. So with Savitar, and towards the end of Season 3, he said what made him get evil was that he was pushed away from all of his friends and everything, and then he had to watch people that he loved die, but he also suffered while he was being trapped in the Speed Force, reliving the same painful memory over and over. And that's sort of what Flash from Earth 2 went through whenever he took the place of Wally West in the Speed Force. And in this one, Barry has to go in there. So I wonder if he had to deal with something like that, to where he was stuck reliving the same painful memory over and over, or if he had a different time while he was in the Speed Force. So there's a lot to think about there, but what do you think it is? Do you think it's something like that, to where he had a similar situation to where he had to relive the same memories over and over? Do you think it's actually Barry that came out? Maybe someone else taking the form of Barry? We've seen speedsters that can do that. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it could be Professor Zoom, Reverse Flash, whatever you want to call him. In this series, I'm going to just say Reverse Flash, because Professor Zoom and him are supposed to be the same person. That's not the case anymore. But it could be him, because he's done that before, where he took over as the Flash for a little while, and he was evil, but he didn't always seem evil. We could be dealing with a young Reverse Flash in his place. We could be working with one of those echoes, like from the previous one. As for what Flash is experiencing, it could be one of many things. I'm hoping it's the one where when he comes out of the Speed Force, he has the Black Rider chasing him. Though it won't be the Black Rider that's actually in the comics, because he was created by Darkseid. Yeah, Flash comics get weird, but I'm hoping it's one of those two things rather than they just got buried like that. Like, oh, here's this whole thing where he has to be trapped in the Speed Force, or else the whole world could be destroyed. Instead, he's out next day. What? Please let it be Professor Zoom as the Flash. That would be awesome. His obsession with the Flash is actually one of the times where he became the Flash. When Barry came out, that's what part of one of the reasons that drove him a little over the edge. Comics are weird.
Yes. Who do you think the main villain of this is going to be? Because at the end of season 3, and we talked about this previously a couple of days ago, to me, the way that it ended, there was Speed Force lightning touching everywhere. What's going on? Hold on a second. My laptop, for some reason,
No worries.
said that it was running low on battery, but it's plugged in, so I don't know what that's about.
Ruh-roh.
Anyways, towards the end of at the very end of season 3, we seen the Speed Force lightning hitting everywhere, and it made it seem like in the same way that Barry got struck, Wally West got struck, Jessie Quick, I believe is her name, got struck. So it made it seem like in the same way they got struck and got their speedster powers, some other people around the city got struck, and possibly they would be receiving their powers. Something similar happened recently within the last couple of years in the comics, where there was the same Speed Force flash everywhere, or the lightning everywhere, and a lot of random people got speedster powers, and the Flash had to take in the team and kind of train them, show them what to do. And one of the main antagonists that came from that was one, I forgot his name, but he ended up calling himself Godspeed, and he was running around, not necessarily an evil or a bad person. I saw him as kind of like Venom for Spider-Man, to where Venom does some good stuff, but for the most part he is bad. He's just like an anti-hero, which is what Godspeed, I believe, turned out to be as well. To where
Don't let the new Venom fans hear you say that. There's been like new iterations of Venom where he's now the good guy.
yeah. So did you think something like that was going to happen, to where like Barry's now trapped in the Speed Force, lightning striking everywhere, turning new people into speedsters? It's going to be up to Wally West and the team without Barry to kind of train them, and like there's so many possibilities that could have happened. What do you think the possibility is for the villains and the explanation for the lightning and everything?
Well, in the Comic-Con trailer, we see the Flying Samurai, which he's supposed to be a speedster himself, if I remember correctly. That's the old series, so don't remember every villain. But I know that's who. I think that's who he's supposed to be. But as for other speedsters, that is possible, which could mean we get one of three things happening. What you said, the Godspeed arc. We also could be dealing with a speedster vampire, which someone who is addicted to the Speed Force, so they take it from others. Because, yeah, that's a thing that's happened.
Similar to what Zoom was doing in season 2,
Yeah.
where he was trying to take all of the Speed Force from the different speedsters on the different Earths.
Yeah, except same Earth kind of Speed Force vampires. I'm going to use that name because, oh man, Flash and most of DC has a long history, and sadly, almost every single piece is connected in a way. But we could also be dealing with a third option, that the TV series is going to figure out what they're going to do, because the TV series has taken comic plots and made them their own, which some people, I'm one of them with Gotham. I'm going to admit this right now. They like the comics pacing, but with Flash, I actually don't mind them going outside the comics, because they still have the main focuses. I'm hoping, please let it be the Godspeed arc. That would be fun. They've been using the mainstream appeal versions, and that's a mainstream comic. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, there wasn't any signs of like other random people being speedsters in this, but it would be really interesting, especially if it is like there's always been a twist in the Flash to where it was their teacher or whatever that was like the person training Flash turns out to be the bad guy, and then it's like the person who you think's going to be like your teammate or whatever turns out to be the bad guy, and then the third season it's the person like it's literally just you from the future. So there's always been the twist, whether it was someone on your team, someone training you, or you literally. So if it was someone that was close to the team for the fourth season,
yeah, likely judging by how they go with it, the progression, it might be someone they're training this time.
Yeah.
Which would imply Godspeed arc.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if it was someone like Godspeed to where they're training him, but he's getting faster, he's better, he's getting more experience than the Flash or Kid Flash or any of the other people. Like, he's just better in all possible ways. So then he thinks, well, why am I following you? Why do I have to listen to you when I'm faster than you, I'm better than you, I can do all this stuff that you can't? Like, you're not... similar to, like, how, you know, Batman, I put that in quotes, to where it's like, he doesn't kill people or whatever, and then I believe it was, like, Nightwing who went around as the Red Hood, and then...
Not Nightwing, it was a Robin.
But he...
Jason Todd, I think? He never became Nightwing.
Okay, so I was thinking of a different Robin that became Nightwing.
Yeah, you're Dick Grayson's the one who became the first Robin.
All right, so the kid who was Robin or whatever basically did the same thing Batman was doing, going around saving people or whatever, but then he was like actually putting an end to the bad guys as the Red Hood, right? That's how it was going.
There's another one where someone became Batman. He was. I'm not gonna attach it to Gotham on this one because I think that arc might end up popping up either this season or next season, which is still strange for me to even think about that kind of stuff. Where they had Azrael, who he was a Batman who killed.
Yeah.
Like, he was a Batman who killed.
Yeah. All right. So I think it would be interesting if they did something like that, to where he's like, you're stopping all these criminals, because there's been a few criminals that they've like put away and they've become reoccurring characters or whatever on the Flash. So it would be interesting if they're like, hey, you keep putting this guy in jail, in prison, locking him up, whatever it is, someone like Gorilla Grodd or whoever that's made multiple appearances, but they keep coming back. We need to just put an end to it. And then they go out and they start out just trying to get rid of all the bad guys. And then that turns into, instead of stopping people who are doing bad things, trying to make it so that people just don't, to where he's like, well, if I'm in control of the city, then I'll make sure no one even does anything bad. Instead of trying to stop them after it's done, I'll just make sure no one does it. Or I'll go back in time and stop them or kill them before they're able to do the crime.
Oh, we could have a Death Note situation where he's pretty much, instead of writing it in a notebook, he's just...
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting, because I've always been a fan of like the time travel in the Flash.
Yeah.
That's why I like Legends of Tomorrow as well. But where Barry, you know, since the beginning of season 3, he doesn't really like messing with the timeline anymore. So if you had a villain who was going back in time to stop other people, then it would be interesting to see how they fight that. Do they go back in time to try to stop him, or do they come up with some clever way to stop him in the present, even though he is time traveling?
Oh, I've been trying to figure out how they're going to do this, and you've given me an idea of what might end up happening. Snart, remember, you already know who is, spoilers, dead in the series.
Yeah, people watching this, like, if you don't want spoilers, then you probably shouldn't be watching it this far. So for now on, there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah.
You can't really talk about predictions without spoiling some stuff.
Yeah. I think Snart might actually get it, because he's a fan favorite. Granted, he's doing the actor who plays him is doing other series, but I think that might be how they bring him back to be part of the series and make cameo appearances without time travel anymore. Where the guy goes back, if the time travel aspect is a huge deal, where he ends up having the unintended consequences of, you got Ultra Humanoid, which is pretty much a knockoff Gorilla Grodd. You get new storylines that have characters who passed on, now they're back. And it's better than trying to use the Dragon Balls to bring back all the villains that we like.
Yeah. It would be interesting, and it's actually possible, because in the same way that in the Legends of Tomorrow, one of the things that they messed up during the time travel was the professor ended up having a daughter that he never had before, and she became like a reoccurring character or whatever. So going back in time and doing that to where you're saving someone's life, especially if it is a fan favorite character, it doesn't seem like something that they would be completely against. So
yeah. Flash has unintended consequences. Everything that someone does or he does,
right,
something changes. I want certain characters back. In Flash, my favorite villain has always been Captain Cold. Most people would probably either agree or disagree. That's completely up to you. But he's a master thief, and he's got his own code. He's a thief who doesn't kill. I like that about him. And he worked with a guy who's completely like, woo-hoo.
Yeah. He was one of my favorite characters as well. Not a huge fan of like the way that he talks, because I understand he's trying to play a character and make him stand out, be unique, but in the same way, it's like the way he talks, it's kind of cheesy, but it sets him apart.
It's kind of how he talks in the comics, so you can't really do anything. It's better than using ice puns all day long. I'm looking at you, Batman Forever.
It's a lot better than Mr. Freeze's take on the cold villain, but it's...
Oh, man. Well, we should say Batman Forever's Mr. Freeze's, because that was the only time the cold puns were like a thing.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze was actually pretty interesting in the Arkham games. So
yeah, well, that's how he is in the comics then too. I'm hoping for more interesting things, because the thing about Flash's Rogues Gallery, it's like all of them are drinking buddies. I want that too. Please have them all chilling out. Like maybe, this is a hope, not speculation. This is not a theory. This is a hope. I want them all of his villains talking about how they, like when they did it in the Batman animated series, all of them hanging out, drinking, and talking about how they nearly got the Flash or nearly beat the Flash, and just they're all there. That would be a fun episode, fun for us, and I think fun for people, because I love comics. I love how the comics don't take themselves too seriously. I want Flash to start trying to move a little more towards. Flash is silly. He knows he knows everything's a little silly that they do. I mean, one of their villains is named Mirror Master, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that was a really good episode too. So one of the what you were just talking about with Captain Cold coming back to life, if there is some time travel thing, whether it's on Legends of Tomorrow or the Flash does it, and Captain Cold does come back, do you think he would have the memory of helping out with Legends of Tomorrow, or do you think it would be like a previous version of him, kind of like when the League of Evil, what was the name of it?
Let's just call him the Legion of Doom right now.
Legion of Doom, yeah. Like whenever he joined, and he was working with Reverse Flash and the rest of them, and he didn't really have the memories of working with the Legends of Tomorrow,
because it was a past version,
right? So, and then even that makes me question stuff, because it's like, okay, if they go back in the past before he dies or before he joins the team, and then he's suddenly working with the evil people, they're already changing that part of history. So then does that add up to where he just never joins the Legends of Tomorrow? Like,
that's where it kind of time travel. This is why time travel is okay for all you respective writers or prospecting writers. Time travel is a pain in the butt. It can either be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Yeah,
continuity is difficult, but they could actually have where they talk to him if he comes back, and he has the memories of dealing with the Legion of Doom, as I'm going to call them right now because I can't remember their name, or even if they had a name.
It would be really cool if, and this is getting completely out there, if they had two different versions of him, to where like there was the person who was teaming up with the Legion of Doom, and then they somehow had the good version of him, and then they come into contact or something, kind of like how, obviously we just talked about it, but season 3 of The Flash had Future Flash as the evil person, and then like not only did he talk to his future self, which was like 10 years in the future or however long it was, but there was also the evil. There was like the emo Flash, and then there was evil Flash. So like,
emo Flash.
Yeah, and I think at one point, I may be getting this confused, but I think in one episode, like all 3 of them were talking with each. I don't know, but
I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's been such a. I should really just rewatch all this to make these videos a bit more entertaining for you all watching. But
no, don't do that. Then we have the. It seems a little more professional feeling.
Yeah. Can't be too professional. But anyways, before we're taking a bit too long here. It's been like 20 minutes almost that we've been recording for this. So do you have any final things before we move on talking about the Arrow?
Well,
with the
for
Flash?
anyone who wants to talk about other recurring characters and characters that aren't there, remember, multiverse. We can have the Flash deal with space while Legends deal with time. Maybe Flash doesn't want to screw with time, but someone could screw with space and start bringing people from other Earths. Yeah. Supergirl's still a thing, and she's Earth 3. We could have more multi-dimensional. That's a thing.
Yeah, that's true. Do you have any hopes for someone new joining the team, or
I think they
Killer Frost is another person that I'd like to talk about really quick, because she was kind of coming back from being evil towards the end of the season. So do you think that's going to be a conflict that continues, or do you think it's going to come and she's just good, she knows how to control her powers, and she's fine with it?
It seems like, and I'm going by the trailers here, she held the cold gun. So I think they're going to deal with like how she's controlling them and learning them. I'm not excited about that. Unfortunately, I think they're getting a bit of character fatigue when it comes to too many characters are there. It can be done, and it can be done well, but I think then we should have more character-focused episodes if that's the case. For her, I think since they don't have Batman right now. Batman is how Killer Frost rehabilitated and became a good guy.
Yeah.
I think they're probably just going to do like she's now just good, and her powers aren't like they are in main comic canon. So I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm just hoping they don't make another superpower in there where everyone's just like, everyone has superpowers.
Yeah.
And you should easily be able to take down almost any villain at this point.
Yeah, that's like we'll get into this another time, but that's one of the reasons why I lost a bit of interest in Arrow, because Arrow doesn't really have any, or the Green Arrow doesn't really have any superpowers. He's like good at fighting, good at whatever, has a lot of stamina, can shoot arrows really good, but then when he's training the other people and then they become really good at fighting, really good at shooting, they have high accuracy with everything, then what's really the difference between all of them?
Yeah, like, we can talk a little bit more about that in the next part.
Which, for everybody watching, you can click on the next video, and we will be talking about the Arrow and then Legends of Tomorrow, and then there may be more soon. But for everybody watching, thank you, and we will talk to you later.